You buy spring tomato starts. You stake, you water, you baby them. Then the heat hits 90 plus. Flowers drop and you pull 10 to 15 pounds per plant, if that, after months of work. You spent real money and got a grocery bag. The problem isn't you, it's the system you were taught. In warm zones, spring-planted tomatoes missed a cool fruiting window. By the time the plants are big enough to set heavy, nights are too warm and days are scorching. Heat and tired soil slash your yields. So stop planting tomatoes in spring. Build fertility in winter, then plant early under cover. I'll show you the exact system that triples yield in a single 4x10 bed, using chickens, cover crops, and discipline. Here's the system, step by step. Winter chicken tractor. Through winter, leave a designated bed bare or weedy. Don't clean it up pretty. That mess is chicken food. Pen 2 to 4 hens directly on the bed with a mobile frame or simple netting. Give them a deep carbon layer, dry leaves, straw, or wood shavings, right on the soil. Think of it as a carbon cap to catch manure. 2 hens for 14 days drop about 4 pounds of manure onto one 4x10 bed. That's fast fertilizer. It's also a pest break. Hens hunt overwintering bugs, slugs, and larvae hiding in last season's debris. Their scratching blends manure with carbon, softens crusty soil, and exposes pests to cold and birds. Why it works. Manure is nitrogen-rich. Carbon is the sponge. Mixed together, it doesn't burn roots or gas off. The carbon holds ammonia and moisture. Microbes wake up on warm winter days, and earthworms drag the mix down. You're charging the bed without tilling. If you're in zones 7 to 10, winter is your lab. Soils aren't frozen hard. Biology still ticks. Let the birds do what they evolved to do on the bed where you want the fertility. 2. Carbon cap plus cover. When the chickens move off, you have carbon, manure, and maybe some churned weeds. Good. You have 2 clean options. Option A, lightly incorporate the top inch if the manure is clumpy. Option B, rake back channels of carbon to expose soil in the row where you'll sow. Then mulch the exposed soil thinly with that same carbon and immediately sow a simple winter cover. Oats plus peas plus clover. Broadcast. Rake in. Water if you can. Oats build quick biomass and a fibrous root mat. Field peas fix nitrogen and lace through the oats. Clover knits to surface and keeps feeding soil life into spring. Why it works? The cover crop locks the winter manure in place. Living roots feed microbes with sugars, which turns raw nitrogen into steady plant-available fertility. The carbon cap prevents nutrient loss to rain and sun. Your bed stops leaking and starts building. Zones 7 to 10. This mix grows reliably through winter and early spring. If you're colder than 7, start the chickens earlier in fall and sow as soon as soil can be worked. You'll get a shorter but still useful cover. Warmer than 10, you'll need to move faster. Your heat window closes early. Late winter crimp plus preheat. When late winter arrives and soil is waking up, but before you get spring fever, crimp the cover down. Don't till. Just flatten it and kink the stems. A board, a crimping stick, or your boot works. Then preheat the bed. Lay a tarp over the crimped cover or set a simple low tunnel. 2 layers, say a tarp plus a low tunnel, or row cover inside plastic, add roughly 8 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit to the soil environment. That's enough to plant 4 to 6 weeks earlier than your neighbors. Why it works? Crimping kills the cover gently. The mat shades out weeds and protects the soil surface. Preheating accelerates microbial mineralization and brings soil temps into the tomato comfort zone early. You're waking biology and denying weeds a head start. 4. Big transplants under cover. Do not put tiny spring starts into cold, windy beds and hope. You want muscular transplants, not toddlers. Start your tomatoes early indoors. Grow them sturdy. Thick stems, dark leaves, no stretch. When your bed is preheated and the forecast has a reasonable window, plant those bigger transplants under your cover. The goal is simple. Set fruit before your nights get too warm. Once night temps consistently hit the low 70s, pollen gets sticky and blossoms fail. These zones 4 to 7, that can show up fast by late spring. You beat the heat by beating the calendar underground, not by gambling after it. A 4x10 bed fits 8 tomatoes at 18-inch spacing. Plant them in the crimped mulch right through the mat. Close the tunnel or tarp them back on chilly nights. Vent on warm days. Double cover buys you those 4 to 6 weeks. That's the whole point. Expect 20 to 30 pounds per plant with this head start and soil prep. Typical spring plantings limp along at 10 to 15 pounds. The difference isn't magic. It's timing plus biology. And yes, the early season harvest usually runs 2 to 3 times what your neighbors pull before summer heat shuts them down. You'll be slicing tomatoes while others are still posting flower pics. 5. Drictus trellis discipline. Finish with discipline. No overhead watering and no sprawl. Lay drip at the base. Keep foliage dry. Water the roots, not the air. Tomato diseases love humidity. Drip saves water and keeps the canopy clean. Then trellis vertical. Tie to a top wire, cattle panel, or string. Prune to 1 to 2 liters. Remove suckers below the first fruit truss and keep air moving. Vertical plants set and ripen predictably. Sprawling plants waste energy on leaves and invite pests. Why it works? Dry leaves, steady soil moisture, and good airflow reduce stress. Less stress means steadier fruit set at the edge of your heat window. Pruning focuses the plant on fruit, not jungle. That's the system. Now why it keeps working better each year. The loop. Here's the loop. Winter birds reduce pests. Their manure feeds your winter cover. That richer soil grows a heftier cover next winter, which feeds even more soil life. Each pass raises your baseline fertility and breaks pest cycles before they start. Earlier fruiting beats heat. Higher early yields mean more prunings, stems, and cull fruit. You feed those back to the chickens. The chickens convert them to fertilizer that recharges the same bed. The bed pays for the feed. Deep mulch plus living roots carve channels into the soil. Water soaks in and stays put. Plants stay hydrated without flashy growth spurts. Less stress equals steadier set. The residue from this year's cover becomes next year's mulch, and the cycle compounds. The numbers make this real. Double cover adds about từ 8 đến 10 độ Fahrenheit to the bed environment. That lets you plant từ 4 đến 6 tuần earlier than the neighborhood last frost logic. A single 4x10 bed holds 8 tomatoes at 18-inch spacing. At từ 20 đến 30 pounds per plant, that's từ 160 đến 240 pounds from 40 square feet. Typical spring plantings in warm zones push through 10 đến 15 pounds per plant and then stall in heat. Your early harvest window alone can be through 2 đến 3 lần your neighbors before true summer arrives. 2 hens for 14 days drop about 4 pounds of manure on that bed. With carbon, almost none of that nitrogen volatilizes. It's banked until roots and microbes pull it into the crop. This isn't a trick. It's aligning with biology and the actual season you live in. Warm zones aren't late spring gardens. They're short, early cool windows followed by sudden heat. Treat them that way and tomatoes reward you. Quick regional notes. Cooler than Zone 7. Start transplants earlier under lights. Use double cover more aggressively. You may get a 2 to 3 week head start instead of 4 to 6, but the principle holds. Hotter than 10. Move the whole timeline up. Your cool window is shorter. Push the winter cover small and crimp sooner. The earlier you set fruit, the more you harvest before night heat blocks pollination. How to start this week. Pick one 4x10 bed you'll dedicate to tomatoes next season. Gather carbon, a trash can of dry leaves, a bale of straw, or a bag of wood shavings. Pen 2 hens on that bed for up to 14 days over a deep carbon layer. Add carbon when it looks wet. Let them scratch and eat weeds. Order oats, field peas, and clover seed. When the chickens come off, rake smooth, mulch thinly with that carbon, and broadcast the mix. Water once if you can. Find your preheat tools now, a tarp and some weights, or a simple low tunnel kit. Don't wait until spring. Start your tomato seedlings earlier than you usually do. Grow them stout. Set up drip and a trellis plan before planting day. 1 bed, 8 plants, to 1 to 2 liters each. That's it. 1 bed, 1 loop, and a clear goal. Fruit set before heat. Stop spring tomatoes, build winter fertility, then plant early under cover. Chickens plus cover crops plus discipline equals heat-proof high-yield tomatoes.